Hey everyone, welcome to day 9 of 24 Days of Christmas. My name is Americ and I will be your host for this very special video in which I tell you 3 reasons why you should be reading comic books if you're not already, and 3 comic books you should be reading if you haven't read comic books in the past, I don't know, decade or year. Anyways, if you haven't read comic books. So before I delve into it, quick note. I am absolutely not what we call a comic book expert. I am very much a fan, and I'm essentially just here to show you some of the things I like, and maybe you will just try them out and like them too. So, without further ado, 3 reasons why you should read comic books. Number 1, and that's one that I have to tell you, very few people really emphasize on. It's very easy to read. I'm telling you, comic books, absolutely easy to read. They have the ease of portability of a book, meaning you can take a comic book anywhere. And also, you don't have to put in the time commitment that you would have for like a 500-page book. So, very easy to read. I usually am a really fast reader, so if I really like a comic book, within like 30 minutes, I'm like done. And I just reread it after. Number 2. The great thing about comic books these days is that the stories now are as compelling, if not more compelling, than any story you can see on any given TV show or on any blockbuster movie that's out there. So, very good time to get into comic books right now because the stories are challenging, they're dark, they're also very mind-blowing, because when you're talking about a TV show or a movie or maybe sometimes a book, you're sometimes restricted in how you can explain something, because if it's a book, you have to describe it. If it's a TV show, you have to shoot it. And if it's a movie, you also have to shoot it. And you have restrictions there. Comic books sort of like take advantage of the visual and the written, and they manage to tell a story, and sometimes without a single line of text, a story that's epic, and that's weird, and that's awesome, and that's really nowhere near what you can tell in a TV show, a book, or even a movie. So, stories, that's where comic books really deliver these days. And the third reason why you should be reading comic books is that really, a lot of people think that comic books are all about superheroes and some villain and hero, but that's not true. Actually, comic books these days are more like just a regular storytelling. And sometimes, yeah, there's some powers that are being involved and talked about, and if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely you will find your pick. But there's also a lot of stories that are just regular people having regular lives, and the stories are just that interesting. So don't think that it's all about superheroes, and don't think that you have to be some sort of expert to try to get into. If you go to a really good comic book store and say, look, I don't know anything about comic books, I just want to just start out and try and see if I can find a story that's of interest to me. Today, you have enough comic books to get into it. So with that said, what are 3 comic books that I would suggest to someone who's never read a comic book and who's really interested in getting into it? And I'm just going to share with you some of the comic books that I thought were pretty interesting and pretty cool, and I think it has a little bit of everything. Comic book number 1, Secret Identity. Yes, it is a Superman-based story, but it's a twist on the Superman story, and there's no series. It's literally a one-shot, so you can read it from cover to cover, and that's pretty much gonna be it. I love this comic book. I have read this comic book several times, and I really advise for anyone who's interested in getting into comic books and someone interested in superheroes and stuff like that, and just like Superman, for example, this is a really good comic book to get into because it's a one-shot. You can read it from beginning to end and you're done, and it's a really interesting twist on the whole Superman lore. Comic book number 2, Girls. Remember how I said it's not always about having superheroes and villains? Yeah, not a lot of superheroes in this comic book, but it's a story like I've never seen anywhere else, and I literally cannot tell you anything without spoiling. So here's what I'm gonna say. I cannot imagine this story being told on TV or movies. And that's pretty much it. This is just awesome. This is like literally one of the best comic books I've ever read. And I have suggested this to a lot of my friends who are not comic book fans, and they've loved it. And I think you should try it and give it a shot. Comic book number 3, and this is this is my favorite. And yes, it's very superhero-y and villainy, but it's awesome. It's called The Authority. And I cannot rave enough about it because it takes the whole genre of superhero and supervillains and all that sort of power idea kind of thing and just twists it and just blows your mind. They tackle some storylines that are relatable, like world politics, hunger, world, wars and how to solve them, and how having powers allows you to influence things in a real way. And I think this is actually the most descriptive and authentic description of how if someone had a bunch of powers, how they would try to change the world, like really change the world. And I thought this was pretty interesting. And I have read this book so much. Honestly, this is how much I've read it. It's like literally coming apart. So there you go, 3 comic books that I think you will enjoy if you're not a comic book reader or you want to get into the comic book genre. And I'm gonna put the links in the description below so you can just click and go check them out and see if this tickles your fancy. But what about you? Are you a comic book reader? Do you think there are certain comic books that non-comic book readers should know about and read? Comment below and let me know. Seriously, like let me know. I really want to get like new comic books, so just hook a brother up. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe because we have way more videos for 24 days of Christmas, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye. I was gonna give you other recommendations, but I was like, I don't know if y'all ready for this. I don't know if are you ready? Are you ready for like, God, Rising Stars? Like you're not ready for this. Like if you haven't read comic books, just give it some time. You nah. This? Nah, it's not for you. It's not for you. Identity Crisis ain't for you. Just stay away from it. It's too hot. It's hot. But my all-time favorite, like legit favorite is anything Deadpool. Like literally, like all this over here, all this, all this. This is Deadpool. Like seriously, Deadpool. And what's this? Oh, another Deadpool. This is what a coincidence. But this couldn't be. No, Deadpool. What? I'm a Deadpool fan. It's like a problem.